So how do search engines know what a website is about? Well, I'm sure you know this. They look at keywords, and as a reminder, keywords is the term given to words or phrases that describe content. Now, these are used as search terms on search engines, and they also determine what the content is on a website. Typically, we would have our main keywords that we would focus on, but there would also be something called LSI keywords, and that stands for Latent Semantic Indexing, and essentially it's looking at the associated keywords around a topic that gives context to the page and to the main keywords that are being used. I will give you an example, taking a jewelry store just as a fake business. Their main keywords might be something like designer jewelry, custom made jewelry, design a diamond ring, silver necklaces, or independent jewelry designer. There could be many more main keywords, but these are just to give you an example. And then compared to the main keywords, when we look at LSI keywords, those would be something like precious gemstones, carat, ring size, engagement, and charms. So these keywords aren't necessarily what a business would want to place a lot of its focus on, but these keywords are actually necessary to include around the content, around those main keywords, so that search engines actually fully understand and easily understand what a website is about. The next thing that you need to understand is, where are these keywords found on a website? It's not just in the content of a 2,000 word article, for example. They are, or should be, in many different places. The first place would be a URL. And it is so important to include main keywords and even LSI keywords in your URLs. It shows the hierarchy of the page. So for example, it starts broad and it narrows down. So this is a not great example. You have no idea what's going on here, what the page is about. It says title, it's got a random number on it. Who knows what's going on? This is a better example, because we know that now this page is about marketing, but specifically it's about digital marketing history. And digital marketing history would be the main keyword when it comes to that URL. So just like it helps people understand what a web page is going to be, it also helps search engines. So this is very important, and we will be looking at it in more detail when we cover links. We've got quite a few lessons dedicated to that, just because it is so important in SEO along with content. The next place a search engine would look would be on the title of the page, and in HTML terms, it's a title tag. We looked at this in lesson 5 of module 1, but just to recap, because it is important, only the first 65 characters of a page title or a title tag count. So Google does look at all of the characters, but it only really cares about those first 65. I think it goes without saying that there should be no duplicate page titles. So each page on the website needs to have a unique name. And as I mentioned, you need to include the main keyword, but not on its own. So if your keyword is project management, you don't just include that as your page title. You would say project management for businesses, or project management methods for an individual, more specifically what that content is about, not just the main keyword. Where you would find a title tag would be in the code of a website or on top of a page. It looks like this. So as with the opening head tags and closing head tags that we spoke about when it comes to installing Google Analytics, this is similar. There's an opening title tag, and then the page title would fall in there, and then it's closed off with a closing title tag. As with SEO, keyword research is arguably the most important factor in a search campaign. There are many tools out there, as we know, some that are free and more that aren't, but I'll be using, or rather showing you, the Google Ads Keyword Planner. There is a bit more work to do before we look at that tool, and I want to just cover intent again. People search in many different ways depending on which stage of the cycle that they're in or the funnel that they're in. Add to that the billions of search queries every day and the unique ways in which people use and even understand words in general. There is no way that we can say that everyone who searches in a certain manner or with certain words is in that exact stage of the cycle. But at the very least, there are some common patterns. So by intent, we mean people who intend to buy your product or service. So it is not including more upper funnel objectives like traffic to site or reach. It's very performance focused. So if we take the AIDA funnel, for example, it would be the desire and action stages of the funnel, potentially not even the desire phase, just the action. For example, if it's the VAC model, so the more performance focused model, then it would really just be action. Then we have low intent keywords, and these keywords are used for purposes other than making a transaction. They typically include words like what is, what do, how to, although how to could be a high performance keyword in some cases. And then there are other so-called broad keywords. For example, let's say someone is searching for an exact brand name. So they just added that brand name or the website address. Then their intent towards other brands is very low because they're being very specific. They know exactly what they're looking for. But non-brand broad keywords like couches or vacuum cleaners signal that someone is in the very early stages of that buying cycle. And in a performance-focused search campaign, they aren't the kind of terms that we would then be targeting. These terms are what is called navigational or informational queries. Then high-intent keywords typically include terms like get a quote, a sale or sales, contact or contact details, buy a book, free delivery, etc. And very specific searches like a 3-seater black suede Madison couch. That is super specific. And there'll be many more examples when going industry or more industry specific, coupled with the unique facets of the business, as well as the strictness of their performance marketing objective. But it is also something that you will really only discover along with your keyword planning and your research. But also, once the campaign is running, you will find additional keywords that you didn't realize would perform quite well and convert. Another question that I have for you, please tell me, true or false, Google Ads will not go over your daily budget. Is it A, true, or B, false? And the answer is B, false. Google will sometimes go over your daily budget, but it will not spend more than your total budget for a campaign, providing that you have calculated it correctly. It is a relatively recent introduction. You never used to be able to set a campaign budget within Google search. You had to set a daily budget, but now you have both options. But if you are using a daily budget and you're checking this daily, you will see that sometimes it will go over that set amount. Again, though, by the time the campaign is finished, it will only have spent the total budget that you set, as long as you didn't make too many changes. If you've made a lot of changes, then you need to be very careful because there is a chance that it will either overspend or underspend. There are, of course, certain searches that you want to avoid completely. These are keywords that you don't want your ads to appear for. You don't want to pay for clicks from those searches. There are some very commonly used words which the average business does not want to appear for, as well as more industry-specific terms. Negatives can be applied at the account, the campaign, and at the ad group level. Some examples of the common terms that are added as negatives, we have cancel, cancellation, and refund. Also PDF, template, and news. School, student, exam, and paper. Complaint, issues, and support. And then again, as I mentioned, many others that are industry specific when it comes to so-called negative things. So it's not that you don't want to deal with that query or you just kind of want to ignore it. It's just either that it does not perform for you, it's too expensive, or you just don't want to have to pay for that click because it's not a relevant search query to you. So with a term like cancel, a lot of businesses have a cancellation policy or something like that in place. And some people will want to cancel with that business. And rather than paying for that click, that's something that you let your SEO cover. So it is time to look at those keywords. First up would be your brand. And one of the first questions to ask is whether you're going to be bidding on your own brand terms. Is there perhaps a separate branding objective or relevant campaigns involved as well that focuses on brand? Because if so, then you don't necessarily want to target brand again or overlap with something or another strategy. Also, do you know the current search volume of brand searches? This is something that you would know if you had analytics and Google Search Console in place. Are there competitors bidding on your brand? Because if that's the case, then you need to be there for your brand terms. And then, has SEO got brand covered? And one thing I must say here is that PPC and SEO can often clash, especially if you have dedicated landing pages for your PPC efforts. So that's only for paid media, not for organic. And then because what often would happen is Google is seeing all this traffic going to those PPC pages, but it might not be as optimized for SEO as your actual SEO pages. However, Google could start prioritizing that PPC page just because, of course, it does share authority and page rank, but there is also a significant amount of traffic going to those pages. Then we have generic terms. And by generic, I mean that these are the almost obvious keywords that someone would search to find your service or product. So here you need to try and put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you have done SEO keyword research or research for content development, then this or those areas would be something to look at as well for PPC. Then with those, you need to list as many variations as you can think of. As an example, if we look at dentist near me, then another variation of that is where is the nearest dentist, and another one is where is the nearest dentist to me. List those all out, as many as you can think of, and then put it in a separate document for keeping it for later. Then you have your competitors, and really your budget and your offering compared to these competitors is what really should determine whether you will bid on competitor brand terms in search. As I said before, people searching brand terms are showing high intent for the brand that they're searching for, not for others. And you can get yourself into a bit of a brand bidding war where your competitor pushes up your brand CPC as you push up theirs. And then if that's the case, the value of those results should be proportionate to the increase in costs that you're seeing. But many big brands do adopt a strategy around competitor terms, as performance can be very good in some verticals. So once you have built or started to build up your list, it is time to move over to the Keyword Planner. And this is a free tool from Google that allows you to see keyword search volumes. With those search volumes, you can also see the average CPC, the level of competition, and more. And you can also use it to find additional keyword ideas. So if you've only been able to come up with a few before reaching this tool, that's not an issue at all. It is available under the Tools and Settings tab within Google Ads, and there are two ways to see information on your keywords. There's the Suggestion tool and the Planner. The difference between the two is that the Suggestion tool gives you additional keyword ideas, and the Planner only gives you data on the keywords that you've already inserted, so you won't get new ideas. Also, the Keyword Planner allows you to create ad groups and therefore campaigns, while the Suggestions tool doesn't. So once in the tool, you would go to Discover New Keywords, and you can either enter keywords, so this is where you'd put all the keywords that you've listed from your search. I know it might look like that you have to put them in one by one, but you don't. You can just copy paste them. You could also start with a website URL. And what is nice about this, again, is that you don't even have to include your own URL. You could put competitors in there or just similar services or products, but in a different market entirely. You can try a different location. It's really up to you. So once you've done that, you'll see a bar graph, which represents the number of searches. So the total number is the blue bar, and then the searches that came from mobile, just because it does focus on mobile, that is the red bar. And you can see that it is significant. It does take up most of the traffic. I put in some keywords around mobile spas just to see what came up. So as you can see, the keywords are below the bar graph. I just entered 5 and it's giving me different stats, which we'll go into now. And then below that, there should be a long list of keywords. You could just see right at the bottom, it says keyword ideas. You can see the average number of searches. This is changing, unfortunately, to a range, so you don't get to see an exact number of monthly searches. It is still very useful. You can also see the competition, which ranges from low to high. And then you can also see a suggested top of page bid in the low range. So what you would need to almost as a minimum put to reach the top of the page. And then the high range. So there is quite a difference there. It does say top of the page, but it's not just referring to the first position here. It's referring to any of the 3 or 4 ads that appear at the top of the search results. When it comes to the competition, just because a keyword says that it is a low or has low competition, it doesn't mean that it will have a tiny CPC, at least not at this point. I would really only be looking at search volumes here to consider what you need to be adding, not necessarily the bids or even the competition with this tool. So this is just a screenshot of some keyword ideas that came up. From here, you can actually select these all and you can download them into an Excel, or you can create a campaign from here. So this forecast here that you're looking at is saying that for these 6 keywords, which is now around digital marketing, I could expect to get 490 clicks and 17,000 impressions for €300 and an average position of 3.3. I could add conversion metrics there if I wanted to. Again, though, it is an estimate, and I could only add those conversion columns if I'd actually added a goal in the account and it was tracking that. You can also add your negative keywords here. So if you're getting ready to create that campaign, have those in place from the beginning. And then the historical metrics, which just is the tab to the right, it gives you the same information, and this is where you could create the campaign as well. So the number of keywords that you should have in your campaign, of course, depends on your budget. Now, the historical data and the forecasts are useful, don't get me wrong, but they are not an accurate portrayal of exactly how things will turn out. However, if you have a low budget, you can't start off with hundreds of keywords in your account. Maybe you can only have 20, and that is absolutely fine, but then they should be the best 20. You're going to be guessing at first if you haven't got any data or anything to back that up, but again, that is fine. That's how we know whether the things are going to work or not. And it is also within where analysis and optimization come in later. If there are keywords in your list that have a much higher CPC than others, then you should evaluate whether you need that keyword. If competition is also high, then there might be a better keyword for you. Also, look at keywords that are potentially too broad or where the intent is not as relevant as other keywords in your list. We will go through some simple examples looking back at the keyword planner information. For example, here I am a digital marketing consultant and I'm looking to expand my client base. The top keyword here, digital marketing, even though it is somewhat relevant, we can see that the cost is quite high and the average monthly searches is also very high. So for my budget, to be honest, no matter what budget I have, it's going to be blown by this keyword alone because it is so broad. Looking at the keywords below this, so digital marketing consultant, strategist, etc., there is a lower volume, and okay, the CPCs still look pretty high, but it is more targeted than the top digital marketing keyword. Here, I am a massage and nail salon business owner, and in this example, I would start by cutting out these keywords here. They are too broad. Someone could be looking up how to do this themselves. They could be looking for images, etc. Competition, although I said not to look at it, but just for this example, competition is also very high, and it's likely retail based, and that is hugely competitive. So due to that retail or e-commerce aspect, as a small business owner, or specifically a massage and nail salon business, these are not the keywords that I need to be targeting. I need to go longer tail. Now we know that there are many keywords out there, and it is important to ask which keywords have a better chance of ranking. Now, these things can be determined with a tool like Ahrefs, which I have mentioned before and we're going to be going through shortly in this lesson and through the rest of the module. And you can also use the organic queries in the Google Search Console that those can assist you. We went through it a bit earlier and we saw the information that we can get from those reports. Now, because we can't possibly rank for all the keywords that we want to focus on in our content, it's good to ask which keywords have a better chance of ranking. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the lesson, I'm going to be taking you through a tool called Ahrefs, which shows you which keywords have a higher likelihood of ranking. How much effort do you have to put in for that keyword to rank higher? It's on a scale of 0 to 100, and we're going to look at that as well as a brief overview of Ahrefs. This is ahrefs.com. It is what I have been raving about. I might not be pronouncing it correctly, but it is spelled ahrefs.com. If you Google that or any SEO tool, then you will definitely come across it. So this is the homepage, and I want to highlight that you can take out a 7-day trial for $7, and I think it's very worth it to do that. So once you have signed in for the first time, you will see this. It's requesting you to add your first project, and it's essentially the domain or URL. As I mentioned, it doesn't have to be your own URL. So I'm just going to put in the URL of a well-known brand, and we can have a look. Zara.com. So this domain is accessible. It's just it's available for indexing and for an analysis or an audit. So you can continue. On the next step, it's verify ownership, but it's completely optional. And because obviously we don't own, or I don't own this site, I'm just going to skip it and continue. Then you can schedule a site audit. So it's essentially regularly checking the site for any SEO issues. This is also something that happens within the Google Search Console tool, but let us move on. The next step is the rank tracker. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but essentially you can add any keywords that you want to track for ranking. So when it comes to your keyword research, if you've made changes on your pages, those main keywords, if they aren't already in this list below, they should be added so that you can track them. As you can see here, you can see the position, the volume, and the specific URL that keyword appeared for. So I'm just going to continue. And then we can add competitors as well to see what they are doing, what their keywords and rankings look like. I'm going to finish up here because we're not focusing on that now. I want to show you the Keyword Explorer tool. But once you have finished, essentially you will see, I'm not sure why it's duplicated twice. Let's hide that. Okay, so this is a bit of an overview, but ignore that for now. Look at the top here and you can see Keywords Explorer. So let us select that. And just like with Suville, you can see here that there are different search engines available. I'm going to stick with Google for the purposes of this lesson, and with the theme of Italian cooking. So let's just put some terms in here. Italian cooking. It's important to shift and enter if you're adding keywords or multiple keywords, because if you just press enter, then it will go to the search or the information, but just for one keyword. So let's put in Italian recipes, pasta recipes. Okay, and let's leave it at that for now. So we can choose the location. It would make sense to choose the location that the business is in. If there are multiple, then you would possibly, just for more accuracy, need to do it per location. I'm just going to stick with the United States for now, and then you would search. Results for the keywords that you've put in appear here, and let me just break this down a little bit. First, we have volume, so 60,000, 11,000, 1,000, the number of clicks, the average CPC. I'm not going to go into the rest, but essentially it's to do with clicks and the number of returning people who use the same search term. But what I want to highlight here is this. This is the keyword difficulty. So if we go into one of the keywords, and you can see it breaks it down a lot more, but on the left here, the keyword difficulty widget, it's on 28. Now it's on a scale from 0 to 100, with 0 being very easy to rank and 100 being very difficult. For this keyword, it's saying it's medium in terms of being able to rank. And at the bottom, it even says that we estimate that you'll need backlinks from around 33 websites to rank in the top 10 for this keyword. So that is a very useful piece of insight, essentially. But I think it also gives you an indication that, I mean, that's quite a lot of websites to be able to rank for a kind of small business or something just starting out. That might seem like a huge task. For a bigger website, it's not a big deal at all. Then, as well as telling you the probability or whether you are more likely to rank for a term, it also gives you new keyword ideas, which is why it makes this tool perfect for keyword research, and then for letting you know if it's realistic that you're going to rank for that keyword, or if it's actually possible. If we scroll down even further, you can see the search results for the specific query over the last 6 months. If you go to all keyword ideas on the left here, then it breaks it down even more, and you can actually filter by a certain keyword difficulty. So if you only want to focus on keywords that are less than 20, then you could do that and then filter all of them. In fact, let's just do that now. Minimum 1, maximum 20. Apply, and there we go. These keywords, you see how many there are, and again, you can't possibly rank for all of them. Look at that, 134 pages of keyword suggestions. From here, it's about finding what's most relevant to the website, to the page in particular, and then filtering down to information like this, so that you can see, what's possible. So let's take quite an easy one compared to what we looked at just now. So here we can see it would be quite easy to rank for this keyword, and Ahrefs is estimating that you would need backlinks from around 10 websites to rank in the top 10 for this keyword. Now I think it's becoming apparent how important links are, and that is what we are covering in the next lesson. Yay. So yes, but this is basically available for any search term, any kind of ideas that you have. You can just pop it into this tool and find exactly this.